but it's a training destination for others. Navy Petty Officer 2nd Class Glenn Slaughter shows us how an intense 6-week underwater operations class churns out Special Forces combat divers.
Key West is one of the hottest tourist destinations on the planet. Duval Street is where everyone goes, but most don't realize that several miles away is an entirely different world. These students are here for the Combat Diver Qualification course. The class is made of Green Berets, Rangers, and even West Point cadets. And under the water, there's no room for error.
The students, when they first come here and they first show up to the course, they're treated, they're very much micromanaged. Every little thing they do is dictated. Every little mistake they make is corrected.
The instructors are everywhere. They see everything.
Students, the first step of your derigging procedure is once you're online, you're going to secure your anchor point.
I had an extensive background in free diving, growing up on the water, but I knew nothing about combat diving.
Previous experience in the water doesn't always help.
The most challenging obstacle that I faced since starting the course was the one-man confidence exam.
Students must recover after having their ability to see and breathe ripped from them.
That's one of the most stressful days I've had at this course. So leading up to that was very, very hard on me.
Not everyone will make it through this portion, but those that do say the same thing.
You have to remain calm, and I think that's the biggest goal here for us as students, is to learn how to remain calm under situations that you don't think you're going to make it out of.
The ring of this bell signals he's ready to go home.
Every attempt to train, teach, coach, mentor is made. They'll get extra training, anything to help them stay on track, but if somebody washes out, it's because he quit, like on himself, and there's not a lot you can do about that. He's probably already made his mind up.
It takes a special Green Beret to want to become a combat diver. It requires a self-starter, somebody who wants to accept the challenge of this course. It's a very difficult and challenging course, but one with proper training and preparation, that Green Beret or Ranger will succeed here.
From Naval Air Station Trumbo Point, I'm Petty Officer Glenn Slaughter.
During this year's Key Resolve FOAL Eagle exercise, Special Forces personnel are conducting free-fall training operations with their Korean counterparts. This covert insertion method provides minimal risk to both the aircraft and the jumpers. Air Force Staff Sergeant Giles Laborn brings us this story.
In training or in real-world operations, members of the Special Forces community consistently perform at the highest levels when called upon. Free-fall team leader Captain David expresses how he remains balanced and driven to be an effective leader.
What motivated me to join Special Operations was the professionalism of the soldiers, as well as the mission that they're charged with. The most challenging aspect of the job is leading the high caliber soldier that is in Special Forces and living up to their standard of leadership and executing at that level.
Captain David's team performs high-altitude, high-opening jumps to join their Republic of Korea Special Forces counterparts on the ground.
After exiting the bird, we get into a stack, which is an organized pattern for command and control of the element. Identify the drop zone. Once we hit the ground, assemble, maintain security, and move on to our follow-on mission.
Captain David shares what he believes is the most vital element for his team's success.
The most important part of the camaraderie within an ODA or Operational Detachment Alpha is the trust. And that's not something that you can build over a matter of days or weeks. It's something that you build over months and years of working together, knowing everything about them and they know everything about you.
Staff Sergeant Giles Laborn, Kunsan Air Base, Korea.
Special Forces are known for being tough, covert, and highly skilled, and National Guard members are no exception. Army Staff Sergeant Adam Fishman shows us what it takes to be a National Guard Special Forces member and how they get to and from their objectives.
In harsh conditions is where Special Forces training lives. Whether day, night, above the surface, or below, These National Guard Green Berets take their combat diver skills to entirely new depths. But arriving at a landing zone accurately and hopping on a Coast Guard response boat to get to a training location requires planning.
It's all about relationships and building relationships out here with us, especially in the Guard side of the house. So we got the Draggers from 7th Group. We work with Florida Guard Aviation. We've got NAS, Naval Station Mayport here. We got the Coast Guard we use with those two. I mean, also got more aviation pieces out there. EOD was a big supporter on that side too. We use their facilities for the planning bays, and they also assisted us on the dive operations. And we hear it often said that, hey, you know, the Guard SF are the best at UW, unconventional warfare, just because of the relationships we have across the board with federal, local law enforcement, any kind of government agency out here. So for us, it's to maintain that piece and to push that piece even further.
Appreciate it. Yep. Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate you guys.
Having Special Forces team there and just seeing how they work, it's definitely a different change of pace. Seeing that's a different branch, it's a different aircraft, something we don't get to encounter all the time. So me being here is really inspiring because I know that I helped them getting them ready to what they're going to do next.
From the brief and from the get-go, from the gear up and then the entry into the water, it was all kind of a valuable lesson for us. It was also a great learning curve for my guys, you know, because some of my crew has never worked with divers.
So what kind of individual becomes a National Guard Green Beret?
I got guys who are doctors, lawyers, I got guys who are PAs. You know, he's an E7, but he's a doctor on the outside, you know. I got multiple guys like that, you know, Ivy League schools, you know, I got guys, they want to be a team guy when they're here, be that E6, E7, be a team guy, and then when they go back, they're a doctor and so forth in the outside world. But that's what really makes that ODA unconventional warfare. That's why it's so important, the different mindsets they have and different capabilities they bring to the fight when it comes to that team. Some of these guys right now, that if they come to drill, it's like, you know what, every time I come to drill, how do I improve the team? How do I improve myself? How do I make it that I deserve to be on this team every time I come here? And I love that stuff. You know, and it's important to me to be around those guys and keep them going.
Reporting from Naval Station Mayport for National Guard Bureau Public Affairs, I'm Army Staff Sergeant Adam Fishman.
Special Operations Forces are usually the go-to for covert, unconventional, or highly sensitive missions. NATO Channel correspondent Ruth Owen speaks to military officials who make the case that a worldwide network of Special Forces teams offers an increasingly cost-effective solution to combat global threats.
Get down! Get down!
They're known as the door kickers of the world, and here at an exercise in Tampa, Florida in the United States, a multinational cohort including American, Norwegian, Dutch and Estonian Special Operations Forces show off what they're famous for, rapid surgical strikes to take out an enemy. But Special Operations Forces trained to operate in remote, hostile environments, often in small numbers or even alone, can provide a lot more than brute force, according to experts.
I would say less than 10% of our operations are kinetic, and that's a good thing, but you never hear about that. What you hear about always is the ones that do go high-end and high order. It's what makes movies. I mean, nobody wants to see you out there spending 8 or 9 months living in a quartel, you know, doing, you know, teaching people how to do basic infantry tactics and stuff. You know, it's just, that's not sexy. Bruce Willis won't star in that movie.
Over a decade of counterinsurgency operations in Afghanistan and Iraq have given allied country special operations forces long experience in working with partners, training up their own indigenous military services.
The ability to interoperate with partners has been a key lesson that will carry forward into the future. And that's common language, common tactics, techniques, and procedures, and an understanding of common effort and strategy.
Interoperability is a buzzword, but its significance is greater than mere jargon. Today's global security threats, including a dispersed al-Qaeda network over multiple continents, require a different model to the large long-term deployment of troops.
Every nation can afford to have 500 to whatever well-trained, well-equipped, mature forces that have the capabilities they need to move quickly, and I mean, we're talking hours, not days or weeks or months, that they can operate in an uncertain or often hostile environment
At a recent conference, Special Forces operators had the chance to look at emerging technology like drone aircraft, cyber intelligence, or even gadgets that could make operators' life in the field a little easier.
So right now we have soldiers that go out every night and they work in a dangerous environment. And we really think that if we had more protection, we wouldn't lose those gentlemen. And an exoskeleton is one of the ideas that we may end up using.
But the first truth for Special Operations Forces is humans over hardware, something which a strong alliance can build on.
These efforts are really, in modern day, about the human domain. And I think we continue to learn that in Afghanistan, and we're watching that in the Ukraine as one example. I think this is a role for NATO Special Operations as a collective that we can provide and be successful in.
The decision makers here say that returning Special Operations Forces to a pre-9/11 role, undermanned and reactive to crises, not proactive, is unthinkable. But it will take long-term and resolute global partnership to maintain the high-level skills of these operators. Ruth Owen in the United States for NATO Channel.